Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 10-team half PPR mock draft from the second overall spot. Inside today's video, I'll be going in depth into my thought process as I make every single pick inside of this draft, as well as talking about some of the picks going on around me, some of the picks that I end up liking a bunch, as well as some of the picks that I end up disliking. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help us out a ton. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, please do so at Notorious FNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into this 10-team half PPR mock draft from the second overall spot. The roster settings for today's mock draft are going to be 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, flex, kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. So without further ado, let's get into the draft. So the draft begins with Derrick Henry at the 101. If I'm being honest with you guys, I think in a majority of drafts, Jonathan Taylor is going to be the 101. Now, is there potential for some crazy motherfucker in your league to take Derrick Henry at number 1 overall? Definitely, but more times than not, I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be the number 1 overall pick, and I think most of the time, Christian McCaffrey is going to be the number 2 overall pick. Now, there are going to be people that are nervous about Christian McCaffrey, because if you've had Christian McCaffrey over the last 2 years in your fantasy football team, he has basically kicked your team directly in the cock. Not because he's a bad player, but because of the fact that he keeps getting banged up. But none of those injuries really correlate together. These have been really random injuries, and I think in 2022, there is no reason to believe that Christian McCaffrey is just going to get banged up again. There's no reason to believe, in my opinion, that Christian McCaffrey is an injury-prone player. I really do believe if this season plays out and say every single player in the NFL is healthy, every single running back is healthy, if that is the case, I think there is a reason to believe that Christian McCaffrey could be the number 1 running back in fantasy football and the number 1 running back by a substantial amount, maybe 3, 4, 5 half PPR points per game, because of just how good Christian McCaffrey is and how much of a workhorse he is on this team. And regardless of how the quarterback situation has went in the past for the Carolina Panthers, Christian McCaffrey has been dominant, and I think he might be even better with Baker Mayfield at the helm. He's definitely the best quarterback that Christian McCaffrey has played with in a while, so I'm perfectly fine taking Christian McCaffrey at the 102 here. Again, we kind of assumed Jonathan Taylor would have been taken at the 101. If Jonathan Taylor was here, you could have taken him ahead of Christian McCaffrey as well. It's kind of flip-flop for me. You can really do whatever. I do have Jonathan Taylor ranked higher, but again, I think McCaffrey could easily outscore him. After we go with McCaffrey comes Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp, Najee Harris, Dalvin Cook, Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. The second round opens with Devontae Adams, DeAndre Swift, Travis Kelce, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, Stephon Diggs, Alvin Kamara, and Aaron Jones. A very running back heavy first 2 rounds, which is the normal. The first 2 rounds are typically where you see people fire off aggressively at the running back position, and then around the middle of the 3rd round is when you start seeing a lot of wide receivers go, because the running backs kind of have a bit of a fall off. So right here, you definitely could go ahead and get a tight end in Mark Andrews, but I don't really want to be drafting him at the 209 in this draft. I'd rather just go running back or wide receiver. Best wide receivers available right now are Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel, Mike Evans. I think it's perfectly acceptable if you wanted to go wide receiver to go with either of those 3 guys. At running back, we got Saquon Barkley, Javonte Williams, Leonard Fournette, Ezekiel Elliott. I like Saquon Barkley a decent amount this year. Now, I'm not as high on Saquon Barkley as some analysts who have him ranked as a top 3 running back, but I do think that Saquon Barkley could easily finish as a top 5 running back at the end of the year. Saquon Barkley is very similar to Christian McCaffrey, because some fantasy football players are just straight up out on those players because they have screwed them over in the past due to injury. And just like with Christian McCaffrey, what we just talked about, none of these injuries correlate with one another. Saquon Barkley is not an injury-prone player. This offensive line is much better than the past for Saquon Barkley, and I think under Brian Daboll, Saquon Barkley is going to succeed a lot in this offense. I think he's going to be quite successful. He also has a lot of pass-catching upside, and we have seen him in training camp look explosive like he did a couple of years ago, so I really think Saquon Barkley is in for a huge season in 2022. After Barkley, we see Tyreek Hill as well as Josh Allen. Now, I am personally someone who does not like taking a quarterback inside of the first 4 rounds of a fantasy football draft. I do really believe that it does end up hurting the depth of your team. Now, in a 10-team league or an 8-team league, you can kind of sway me with an argument that, oh, since every team is going to be a lot more stacked when compared to a 12-team league, Maybe that's why you want to draft a quarterback early, and I get that. But I still don't want to be the first asshole taking a quarterback inside of the 3rd round. I really think that is a reach because there are other quarterbacks that are going the 5th round that I could easily see outscoring Josh Allen. So looking at running backs, Javonte Williams, Leonard Fournette, Ezekiel Elliott. We already have 2 running backs that could legitimately be the number 1 and number 2 running back in fantasy football. So we're to stay away from running back for now. Best wide receivers available in this spot are Deebo Samuel or Mike Evans. 2 wide receivers that would have been perfectly fine selecting at the 209. Here we are going to go with Deebo Samuel. Now, a lot of people are nervous about Deebo Samuel, and there's also a lot of people that are very excited about Deebo Samuel. There doesn't seem to really be anyone in the middle. He seems to be a very polarizing player. I think that while Deebo Samuel may see less carries this year, I think he is still going to be just as dominant of a player and could easily finish as a top 5 wide receiver at the end of the season. I think that Trey Lance could potentially even be a step up in the quarterback room when compared to Jimmy G-Spot, Jimmy Garoppolo. So after Deebo Samuel, we see Javonte Williams, followed by Mike Evans, Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette, James Conner, Keenan Allen, Mark Andrews at the 309, which is a steal. I was honestly considering taking Mark Andrews at the 3.2 where we took Deebo Samuel. After Mark Andrews came A.J. Brown, followed by the 4th round with Michael Pittman, Patty Mahomes, Terry McLaurin, David Montgomery, Breece Hall, Cam Akers, Higgins, and Kyle Pitts. So we're back up on the board here. Again, we do have our staple running backs. So we're not looking to go running back. We're not looking to go quarterback yet. If it was the 502, then maybe I'd pull the trigger, but not just yet. Looking at the tight ends here, I would have been very open to taking Kyle Pitts here. Darren Waller fired his agent. Seems like he wants a new contract. We could see a legitimate holdout with him. Again, am I saying that's a lock to happen? No, but that is something to discuss. So here we're just going to go ahead and go with a wide receiver because this person here is not going to end up taking a quarterback unless they're fucking crazy, right? There's no need to take Josh Allen and then take a quarterback in the next 2 rounds. You shouldn't even take another quarterback if you draft Josh Allen. So if we want a quarterback, we can get him at the 502. So we're going to go with a wide receiver here. DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, Mike Williams, Jalen Waddle. Now, Deontay Johnson did get banged up in yesterday's game, and it was a shoulder injury, but everything that I have read is very calm on this injury. This is nothing crazy serious, and even Mike Tomlin, head coach of the team, said that if this was a regular season game where things are on the line, Deontay Johnson probably returns in that game. It's just the fact that it's preseason. They want to be cautious. So Deontay Johnson will be perfectly fine. And I think Deontay Johnson is being immensely disrespected right now in fantasy football. I understand most people don't love kissing titties Mitchell Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph. I think the starting quarterback of the team is going to be Mitch Trubisky. I'm still pretty confident in him. I like Deontay Johnson at the 409. After DJ, we see George Kittle Timbers, followed by Mike Williams. So here, I am fine taking a quarterback at the 502. If Justin Herbert, the pervert, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, all of these quarterbacks could fall this far. That is amazing, and I am fine taking a quarterback in the top 5 rounds in this scenario. And I'm going to go with Justin Herbert here. I do like Lamar Jackson slightly more than Justin Herbert, but I do really believe that if you guys are playing in a bunch of fantasy football leagues, that you should be changing up the players that you take, because even though I have Lamar Jackson ranked 1 spot ahead of Justin Herbert, it doesn't mean that I think Lamar Jackson is immensely, by far and away, the better quarterback when compared to Justin Herbert, the pervert, this season. Justin Herbert's offense is fucking amazing. They also are in a division that is going to lead to a lot of high-scoring games, so I'm very excited about Mr. Justin Herbert, the pervert, this year. If he wasn't available, I would have been fine taking Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray at that spot, or we could have just hopped back on the wide receiver bandwagon with DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, or Cortland Sutton. So after we go with Mr. Justin Herbert, we see Cortland Sutton followed by Josh Jacobs, DJ Moore, Travis Etienne, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Waddle, Antonio Gibson, and Darren Waller. So while Antonio Gibson has just been picked, we got to talk about this situation. Now, yesterday, sadly, Brian Robinson, now this is not a sad part, actually. This is happy for Brian Robinson. He gets named, seeming like he's going to be the number 1 running back on the team, and then he gets shot in what is reported to have been a carjacking. Now, I recorded this video last night, so it's not like what I'm telling you is definitely 100% factual, but it's what I have read from Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, so I think it's pretty factual. And now, Brian Robinson, since he got shot, might miss the whole season. So while I still think Antonio Gibson is a ridiculous pick in the 5th round, I don't think you should go anywhere near him, I still do now kind of have to move my thought process on this, because if Brian Robinson misses some serious time, which is definitely possible, then Antonio Gibson should be an acceptable player to take in like the 8th round. But in the 5th round, still, that's ridiculous. After Antonio Gibson, we see Darren Waller, followed by Elijah Mitchell, J.K. Dobbins, Joe Shiesty, Allen Robinson, Dalton Schultz, Kyler Murray, A.J. Dillon, and Jerry Jeudy. Now, I read something yesterday that says there's a chance that J.K. Dobbins gets thrown on the PUP, the physically unable to participate list, to start off the season, which would mean he would miss the first 4 games of the season. Now, this isn't necessarily a lock to happen. I don't even think this is what is going to happen, but that does worry me slightly, because if he gets put on that list and you draft him in the 6th round, you reached on him immensely. So now we're going to go ahead and go with a wide receiver again here. I don't really love this range of running back. We don't have a tight end, but I don't want to reach on Hawkinson, Goddard, Knox, Ertz, any of those guys. So we're just going to go with best wide receiver available here. And in my opinion, that is going to be Brandon Cooks. Now, Brandon Cooks is a super safe pick in my opinion, but he also has a lot of upside. I think Davis Mills is a significantly better quarterback than most people give him credit for. He also has the longest neck of any quarterback in the NFL. Man is built like a goddamn giraffe. But at the 609, I like Brandon Cooks a ton. It's the 6.9. Very nice. I like, because this guy just prints 1,000-yard seasons. Now, I don't think Brandon Cooks will necessarily be a league winner, but as a reliable guy that has the upside to score 25, 30 points in any given game, I like Brandon Cooks a ton. And since the Houston Texans are probably not going to be very good, they're going to be down in a lot of games, and that means even more upside for Brandon Cooks to see a lot of passes thrown his way at the end of the game. After Cooks, we see DK Metcalf, followed by Miles Sanders to start off the 7th round. Now, again, we're still in this running back range where I'm just looking away from him. I'm just fading away. I'm fine with Damian Harris, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I like them, but do I want to take them in the 7th round? No. And again, these tight ends, I like Hawkinson, I like Goddard, I like Knox, but I'd rather just wait a couple of rounds and say one of them falls, then I'll be fine taking them in the 8th round. But in the 7th round, I'd rather just keep hammering in on these wide receivers. And since we have such great running backs, I don't really think we have to be worried about reaching on one of these dead zone running backs that I am not very much in love with drafting this season. So we're going to go wide receiver here. And since we already have 3 wide receivers, Debo, Deontay, as well as Brandon Cooks, I am perfectly fine here taking a wide receiver that might miss week 1. It might even end up being a complete and utter swing and a fucking miss because he's just not good anymore, even though in training camp he looks good, and that's Michael Thomas. I like Michael Thomas a ton this year. He could literally be a 7th round pick in your draft and be the same Michael Thomas that he was a couple of years ago, where he was legitimately the best wide receiver in the NFL. I think Jameis Winston will feed this guy the ball, so I'm excited about Michael Thomas this year. He is definitely risky, but I do like the upside, and as the draft goes on, I want to get more and more risky. Early on, you don't really want to be taking any crazy risks. Now, I don't consider Christian McCaffrey or Barkley to be risks, so I'm not taking risks early on, but after the 3rd round, I'm taking the condom off of my team, and I'm going crazy. I'm taking those risks because safety isn't what wins you your fantasy football league. So after Michael Thomas, we go with Jalen Hurts, followed by Amari Cooper, Hollywood Brown, Chris Godwin, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Mr. Juju Smith-Schuster, Kareem Hunt, Russell Wilson, Adam Thielen, Darnell Mooney, Kenneth Walker, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, Damian Harris, Gabe Davis, and Rashad Master Bateman. It's very evident that the casual fantasy football fan still hasn't caught on to Trey Lance, and Trey Lance continues to be the biggest value pick in all of fantasy football drafts. Now, a lot of time I take a quarterback early because I'm perfectly fine doing that. But if I'm waiting on a quarterback, my eyes are fucking set like a Predator missile from MW2 on locking directly onto Trey Lance. I am so excited about the upside of Trey Lance this season. So we still don't have a tight end, and Hawkinson has fallen so far that now he is a value. If Hawkinson was not available here, I think I would be fine with either Goddard or Knox as well. But say we didn't go tight end here, we probably would have went with a running back and went with either Singletary, Edmonds, or Penny, and you could consider Ramondre Stevenson in that spot as well. But here we are going to go ahead and go with tight end TJ Hawkinson. Now, I did talk about Hawkinson a little bit before and how I didn't want to reach on Hawkinson, and that has nothing to do with Hawkinson's skill set. It more has to do with the fact that I don't want to be reaching up on a tight end in the 7th round that I don't think is worthy of a 7th round pick. I think Hawkinson could be very dominant for this team, and I continue to bang the drum for the whole Detroit Lions offense. I really do believe that this offense is going to look significantly better this year when compared to last season. But before we get on into our next pick here, I would like to give you guys a quick quick word from our friends and our sponsor of today's video, Underdog Fantasy. They've been on your screen this whole entire time. The best place to play fantasy football this summer is Underdog Fantasy. The Best Ball Mania 3 tournament has $10 million in total prize money. All you got to do is draft your team. That's it. You don't have to worry about doing waivers all Tuesday night. You don't have to worry about calling your buddy. He's too busy watching his kid to make a trade. No, you don't have to worry about trades, and there's no in-season management because Underdog will automatically give you your best lineup at the end of every single week. Last year's Best Ball Mania champion drafted in June, so there's no need to wait until Labor Day weekend to draft. You can draft right now and win. Click on the link in the video description down below or use promo code Stokastic, it's been on your screen this whole time, STOKASTIC, to get a first match deposit bonus of up to $100 and our Best Ball draft kit for 100% free. That's a combined $170 of value with a deposit of $100. Make sure you guys do check out Underdog Fantasy. We are doing drafts on there every single Monday over on the Best Ball channel. So after TJ Hawkinson, we see DeAndre Hopkins followed by Brandon Ayuk. So we got our quarterback, we got our tight end, and when I draft a quarterback or tight end that I'm comfortable with, and in this case, I drafted a quarterback and a tight end that I'm comfortable with, there is no need to draft a backup quarterback or tight end. The only time I'm going to need another quarterback is if Justin Herbert goes down or he's on his bye week. When he's on his bye week in week 8, what I'm going to do is go onto my bench, find someone that I don't think is very good, cut their ass, and then play that guy over Justin Herbert. And then when TJ Hawkinson's on bye in week 6, I'm going to cut someone else off my bench and then throw him in the tight end spot. And then after that week, I'm not going to need him anymore. Adios. Now you're on the waiver wire. And then TJ Hawkinson goes back on into the lineup. So we do have 2 running backs. We have 4 wide receivers up to this point. And I am still very comfortable with the running backs that we have. I'm very comfortable with Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley to where I feel fine taking another wide receiver here and then taking some more running backs later on in the draft. So we are going to go wide receiver here with rookie Drake London of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, Drake London is banged up right now, but there is really no need to worry based upon everything that I've read. Drake London will be good to go for week number 1. I understand the Atlanta Falcons quarterback Marcus Mariota hasn't been very impressive as of recently, but he's not dog shit. And with the amount of weapons in Atlanta being so low, besides Kyle Pitts, I really think Drake London could have a fantastic year in 2022 as a rookie. After Drake London, we see his teammate Cordero Patterson, followed by Dallas Goedert, Devin Singletary, Chase Edmonds, Tony Pollard, Devontae Smith, Rashad Penny, Melvin Gordon. The 10th round opens with Hunter Renfrow, Elijah Moore, Damian Pierce, Treylon Burks, Alan Lazard, Dawson Knox one time if you are with me, Dickie Dak Prescott, and James Cook. Looking at running backs here, I really do like Ramondre Stevenson. Now, there is still a chance that Damian Harris is just the number 1 back on the team, but if I'm being honest with you, I think they're just going to split the drives, meaning drive number 1, it's going to be Damian Harris. Then after Damian Harris gets his go, drive 2, it's Ramondre Stevenson, and then they keep rotating in and out. And if the Patriots are as run heavy as they could be, then both of those guys could finish inside of the top 24 at the running back position. So after we went ahead and went with Ramondre Stevenson, comes Aaron Rodgers and then Chris Olave. If you take Josh Allen, there's no need to take a backup quarterback, especially in a 10-team league. If you take a backup quarterback, you're fucking crazy because you're guaranteed to get a quarterback that you like because there is only 10 teams in the league. That is just absolutely banana lands. Probably just going to go with another running back here because we don't want things to go super crazy and wait super long to get our 4th running back here. So we're going to go with James Robinson. I honestly think James Robinson could end up just being the starting running back on this team over Travis Etienne. James Robinson seems to be fully healthy and good to go in week number 1. And we all know how good James Robinson is. I do like Travis Etienne still in fantasy football, and I think he could really excel because of his pass catching prowess on the team. But I think James Robinson right now in the 11th round is certainly worthy of a shot because we have seen him be an upper echelon running back in fantasy football. After James Robinson comes Pat Freiermuth, Zach Ertz, Tyler Lockett, in my pocket skirt, Bobby Trees, Garrett Wilson, Matthew Stafford, Trey Lance, Christian Kirk, Cole Kmet, Chase Claypool, Kadarius Toney, Derek Carr, Sky with 2 Y's more, Mike Licky on my Gasicki on MVS, and George Pickens. So now we're going to draft another wide receiver here. And we're, again, the deeper in you get to the draft, you're not necessarily just drafting for safety. Now, I think Jarvis Landry is a safe pick. I like him, though, but he's just a very safe, pedestrian, boring pick. You want to know what isn't a boring pick and a super high upside pick? Julio fucking Jones. Julio Jones is ancient at this point. This guy has been in the NFL since dinosaurs were fucking wandering the earth. I almost said warming the earth. Since dinosaurs were wandering the earth. He's been there since the goddamn Flintstones were on earth, all right? Julio Jones has a lot of upside this year. Now, he could be a complete swing and a miss, right? Julio Jones might just be brittle. He might just be old, and he might be what we saw in Tennessee. Or he's this red zone ball hawk for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tampa Bay Tom Brady as the starting quarterback, who I think just got some facial surgery done. He's looking fucking weird. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but Tom Brady looks like he didn't go on a vacation. He actually got some facial reconstruction surgery done. I'm not to judge him, though. He's still a good-looking guy, but looks a little bit off, and I think that's what happened. So we're going to go with Julio Jones here again. Huge upside pick. Could end up fucking us over. But again, he's not like our wide receiver 2. He's our wide receiver 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm perfectly fine with that. If you are more scared about the running backs that we have, you're thinking, oh, Christian McCaffrey might get hurt, Saquon Barkley might get hurt, then you can draft another running back here, which is perfectly acceptable, and that's what we are going to do. And we're going to go ahead and get Nyheim Hines, running back of the Indianapolis Colts. Head coach Frank Reich has talked a decent amount about potentially using Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor at the same time. Nyheim Hines is a very talented pass catcher, so he makes sense to be selected in a half PPR league in the last round before we take our kicker and our defense. Again, no need to draft a backup quarterback or tight end with the ones we have on our roster. So after Nyheim Hines comes the Bucs defense, Alexander Mattison, Tyler, yeah, Boyd, the Buffalo Bills defense, Evan McPherson. We're only going to talk about the actual players, not the kicker and defenses, because it's just annoying to read all those names off. It just takes too much time, and so does this spiel that I'm going on right now. So Isaiah Spiller, Kenneth Gainwell, the Cousins, Kirk Cousins. You like that? That's about it. So Spiller, Cousins, Gainwell. Now we're up. Now we're drafting defense based on who they're playing week 1. I could care less about who they play the rest of the season. I don't really even care how good the defense is. All I want to do is be hunting an offense the defense is playing up against that I think is going to be shit. Week 1, the Broncos are going to bend the Seattle Seahawks offense over a table, not even use lube or spit. They're going to go to absolute pound town with the Seattle Seahawks offense. So I love the Broncos here. And then we'll just go best kicker available here. And we're going to go with my old bitch lame, but my young ho coup. And then, are there any other skill position players being selected here? My boy Rodrigo, you sunk my Blankenship, Albert O, Brian Robinson, and Rashad White. So I think we had an excellent draft in today's video. Let's recap the draft real quick before we skedaddle our way on out of here. We got Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Deebo Samuel, Deontay Johnson, Justin Herbert the pervert, Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas, TJ Hawkinson, Drake London, Ramondre Stevenson, James Robinson, Julio Jones, Nyheim Hines, the Broncos defense, and my old bitch lame, but my young Hoku. Thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. Let me know down below in the comment section what you guys thought about today's team, and make sure you do check out Underdog Fantasy, promo code Stokastic, to get that $100 first match deposit bonus, as well as getting our draft kit for 100% free. I love you guys all so much. I hope you have a great rest of your guys' day, and as always, good boy!